So this is the topic test for the second biology unit, which is cell specialization. So here we've got a question: draw a root hair cell and label the parts in the cell in the space below. So it's not giving you a lot of space, so I've done the best I can. So this outer part is called the cell wall, and then you've got the inner part. So these are just different cells here. And then you've got this inner part, which is the cell membrane. Because remember, in a plant cell, you've got that wall as well. You've got a really large vacuole here. That's to maximize the uptake of water and cell sap. So this is in the soil, by the way. So the root hair cell is below the surface. It's not going to contain any chloroplasts because it's pointless. It's not going to do any photosynthesis because it's not got access to sunlight. You've got your nucleus, and then the cytoplasm, and then you've got lots of mitochondria. So that's going to be used for active transport, which we're going to see down by here now. This is called a projection. This is the root hair. So you can imagine this coming down as a root, and then you've got these little hairs, tiny little hairs. So there's many of these. There's going to be loads of these on a root. Okay, and they all sort of poke out into the earth. Connect the adaptations of the root hair cell to the function. So many mitochondria is needed for active transport. So active transport is when it goes from an area of a low concentration to an area of high concentration. Whereas, diffusion or osmosis goes from an area of high to a low usually. But because there may be nutrients or water in the soil that the plant needs, and even though it might have a higher concentration inside, it still needs to pull them out. So that's why it uses a little bit of energy there. It's got a large vacuole to increase the surface area to the volume ratio. So that means there's more places for it to do these functions, such as osmosis and, pulling the nutrients and the water out of the soil. And then you've got that large vacuole because it does need that water. And then let's push on to this one. Tick the name given to the specialized cell to perform photosynthesis in plant cells. Now, we haven't really covered this because it's not in your spec. Now, it's come up on this question, so I'll go through it. Now, remember, these questions are not from Pearson, so we may not have to do this, but I'll go through it anyway. You've got a list here of stuff for photosynthesis. Now, I'm going to epithelial cells. Hopefully, you'll recognize that as when we did the nervous, the tissues and all that. So, epithelial cells really to do with animal cells. So it's not going to be that one. Your guard cells I've done in blue down by here. And that's nothing to do with photosynthesis. They just open and close depending on if it's day or night. I'm not going to get into that though. And then you got spongy mesophyll and palisade mesophyll. It's the green ones, so it's these top ones where photosynthesis happens, not these spongy ones down below. Because if you think it's close to the surface of the leaf there, so this is going to be these. They're tightly packed. So the next one for 3 marks, label 3 adaptations of this cell on the diagram of the leaf below. So I've said there's a high number of chloroplasts. There's going to be loads of chloroplasts close to that leaf surface. They're tightly packed. They're orientated towards the leaf surface, which is a short distance from the outside for short diffusion distance. I've done more than 3 there, but it's very unlikely a question like that will come up. So I'm going to leave that one there. Then we got a nice old sperm cell by here. Label 2 adaptations. Well, I've done 4 there. So you got your acrosome, which is the enzyme that breaks down the cell wall of the egg. You've got the haploid nucleus, which just means it's half the number of chromosomes it usually contains. It's got 23 chromosomes there. It's got a high proportion of mitochondria. The energy is needed for, it's got to do a lot of swimming, basically. So it's going to need a lot of energy. And then you got this flagellum, or let's go for this, undulopodium. I'm not a biologist. I'm guessing that's how you say it. But that is just another name for a flagellum, really. Give the name of the adaptation that is common between both sperm and egg. It's got a haploid nucleus, so it just means it's got half the number of chromosomes. And the importance of this adaptation for 2 marks is to allow genetic mixing. So you get some genes from your dad, some genes from your mum, and then you become pretty much, you know, a little bit of each. Fertilized egg will then have the full number of chromosomes. When I look at the mark scheme, I don't know if that's worth it. I mean, you've got to really know what you're looking for a mark there. Again, these questions, they're just there to help us. An egg cell is shown below, and then it wants you to label 2 regions there where it's recognition of the sperm cell and then the protein development in the embryo. So we've got the zona, and again, please forgive me on the pronunciation here, zona pellucida, or pellet, yeah, let's just leave it there. That's where the sperm recognition is going to happen. And then you've got these little bits, these little bubbles then called the corona radiata. Sounds like it's from a Harry Potter film. That's going to give you your protein supply then for the egg. Okay, so when it's fertilized, you've got, obviously it needs to have a lot of protein. I've also labeled some other parts that might come up. So you've got your cytoplasm inside here, this inside the zona pellucida, pellucidia, I don't know. And then you've got the nucleus that contains chromosomes. All right. And then the last page then, consider the computer generated. All right, brilliant. Transport oxygen around the body is going to be the answer to state the purpose of red blood cells all the time. All right, so that's an easy mark there, I believe. From the image, state 2 adaptations. Well, we should remember these anyway. The top two, no nucleus to maximize space for hemoglobin, which is the stuff that binds to oxygen. There's 4 hemoglobins in each blood cell, but you don't need to know that. And then you've got biconcave shapes, just like that little, it's almost like you've got a donut and then you push your thumb on it to make that little dimple. And that's to increase the surface area. You can also have flexible to fit through tiny vessels, and you can also say there's a large number of them, but I would go for top 2 there on for 2 marks. What percentage of white blood cells is in your blood? It's less than 1%. Okay, the majority is red blood cells, hence why your blood's red, because red blood cells, you know, yeah, I'll leave that there. And then you've got a 6 mark to finish off. What are the functions of the white blood cell and how are they adapted to their role? So the functions is really to defend the body against pathogens. A pathogen is like a bacteria or a virus, basically an unwanted microorganism that can cause damage, it can cause disease, a pathogen. They're going to produce antibodies. Antibodies are linked with your immune system and they produce antitoxins. So a toxin is pretty much just, you know, something your body doesn't like a poison. And these antibodies, they counteract these toxins. These antitoxins counteract the toxins, as the name suggests. They also perform phagocytosis. I don't know if you remember this from when we did the first unit of biology, but it's a process where these tiny little things ingest like waste material and just unwanted stuff in your body. And it's a process, phagocytosis. It's kind of, they just eat other cells, basically. It just needs to clean up. These white blood cells, they also synthesize proteins, and they've got little receptors on their surface. That is because they need to be very sensitive to any changes in pH or anything that's happening in your body. They need to kind of know straight away. So they got these tiny little receptors. They can also change their shape of the cell membrane. Now, I'm not a biologist, but I think this is because they don't know what job they got to perform yet. So they may even have to adapt to go into a red blood cell if that's where the virus or the bacteria is. So they need to adapt, really. They need to change shape. They need to be able to fit through anywhere in your body. So that's an important adaptation. They've got lysosomes, again, from Unit 1. These are the things that I think perform phagocytosis, but I'd have to check on that. These digest the pathogens, and then they produce enzymes to digest pathogens as well. So that's your 6 marks, all in bullet points there. So you would have to tie that together. And that's the end of that video.